The Indianapolis Public Library Foundation has received over $3 million in grants for a number of very important library projects. We welcome Library Foundation President Roberta Jaggers to talk about this great news. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Roberta, this will certainly go a long way toward having the library grow in many different areas. Let's first talk about the lion's share of the grant, $3.1 million from Lilly Endowment, Inc. What will this be devoted to?
We have two projects that this is going to fund. The first is a massive digitization project of major city organizations to help the Indianapolis community celebrate our city's bicentennial. The second project is the launch of an African American Literature Center at Central Library.
Wow, that's fantastic. Let's first talk about the African American Center for Literature and Culture at Central Library. What will this entail?
Well, we just are so excited about this project because we are going to be purchasing an initial collection of about 10,000 volumes that represent African American literature. Unlike other kinds of collections that are more of a museum or an archive, this is intended to be a circulating collection that the public can borrow and enjoy just like any other materials. We are going to augment this with a dedicated curator, which is funded through the grant, as well as a suite of programs, activities, other types of projects to activate the collection and really bring it to life and increase its prominence in the community.
Now, the library is already proud of its African American History Committee, which has been in existence for a long time, primarily as a programming component for the library. This will really enhance the work of the History Committee, won't it?
Yes, I understand the African American History Committee is very excited about this project, and it will just create some more opportunities. So for example, one of our ideas is to create a literary magazine that could be a great outlet for young people participating in the existing Slam and Rhymes Poetry Challenge to be published. So that's one way it will expand, and it will also just provide more depth and support in terms of the collection to undergird the wonderful and very popular programming that the foundation is very proud to support that are already happening by the African American History Committee.
What's the timetable for when the center will actually be in existence?
It's an ambitious timetable, and it's actually looking at opening in the fall of 2017, all part of the 100th anniversary celebration of Central Library.
We look forward to that next year, and you'll hear a lot more about that next year. The other part of the Lilly Endowment, Inc. grant, you mentioned for digitization of a large part of the Indianapolis city history. Indianapolis Police, IPS schools, Parks and Recreation. What's the scope of this project?
This is huge. We're talking about digitizing approximately 1 million pages of historical records from these key organizations. So one is Indianapolis Public Schools, and they recently gifted some of their historical archives to the library. They were actually for a while in danger in the Mallory building, but now they've been able to gift some of them to the Indianapolis Public Library, and now IPS has more space for its other records in the administration building, and so the records are not only secure physically, but then they'll be saved and preserved and made available digitally to the public. And it's a very rich treasure trove of information that we think will be of high interest to researchers. We've partnered for many years with the Indianapolis Firefighters Museum, and we do have some of their items digitized already, but this will enable us to complete that collection. So it's things like pictures from fire scenes and really incredible stuff. The Indianapolis Metro Police Department, we're extremely excited about this because we will be able to digitize their archives. When we first met them and talked to them about this project, I understand that their archives were in pod storage containers and were at real risk of being lost. But since this project has happened, I understand that they've actually found a secure, temperature-controlled interior room for these materials, and then they're very excited about the digitization project. And the last one is the Parks Department. You know, the Parks Department has a long and rich history in Indianapolis, and we're very excited to make that history available to the public as well.
And again, the value for all this, which follows along with the library's strategic plan, is to preserve Indianapolis history and make it available for free on the library's website.
Exactly, and just thinking about all the folks who are going to want information about our city to celebrate the bicentennial. The library's administration thought very carefully about what is our significant contribution to the bicentennial, and we may do some programming and things, but really we think that this is it, is to preserve the information from key civic organizations. And it complements really nicely with our yearbook collection and our existing work with the firefighters. So it's really building upon a niche that the Indianapolis Public Library has in the digitization sphere in Indianapolis, which is definitely centered around public institutions.
And quickly, one more grant, in addition to the Lilly Endowment Grant, $192,000 from the Indianapolis Foundation Library Fund to create what's called a Global Village Project. Quickly, what's that about?
Well, basically, we know that Indianapolis is home to a growing population of newcomers, and use that word to pretty broadly categorize people who are not from this country originally, who are living here. They might be immigrants, they might be refugees, they may be visiting from another country for a long period of time, but we've recognized for a long time that we need to really step up our efforts to make the library welcoming and accessible to those folks. So this grant is about taking the efforts of our existing immigrant outreach specialist in the programming and the services she's provided to the next level by having a richer collection, more information about the library in various foreign languages, not just Spanish, but the languages from Burma and other countries that are spoken here that might not be on the top of the list of what we would think about as the foreign-born population living in Indianapolis. So we think that it's really just going to be a huge social justice issue and really just to increase the library's accessibility to folks who really need us.
Right. So important for the library to be able to reach out and provide services for people who may be new immigrants, people who are non-English speaking primarily. So we're so proud and we're so grateful to the work of the Library Foundation in generating community support for programs and services. For people to learn more about the foundation, how can they do so?
www.indplfoundation.org.
Okay, Roberta Jaggers, Library Foundation President, thank you again.
Thank you.